Hi everyone, it's Janet and welcome to my craft room. Today I'm here for the Card Hoppin', a year of fun themes and techniques YouTube Hop. This is hosted by Jennifer Holder Schoolcraft, and it's a monthly YouTube group that collaborates together on Facebook. So I want to first of all thank Jennifer for organizing this whole year of fun things that we're doing, and hope that you enjoy these monthly hops as well. Now, every month we have both a theme and two possible techniques that we're going to show off. So this month the theme is butterflies, and we could choose either to do Joseph's coat or black magic technique. Today I'm going to show you Joseph's coat, which is something I had never ever attempted or done before. And I want to tell you this was my very first attempt at it, of actually doing it myself. So I hope you will bear with me as we see some errors. But nonetheless, what you start with are 4 inks, and you'll want to use either dye inks or pigment inks. You don't want to use a waterproof ink, and you'll soon see why. Now this is the stamp set I'm going to use. It's from Tailored Expressions. It's called Aflutter, and it uses solid images, in this case the butterflies. And that's also important. You don't want to use line images for Joseph's coat technique. You want the solid images. So this always starts with putting some nice bright background in place. And I'm going to start that at an angle, and I'm going to first use Worn Lipstick, and then I'm going to use Shaded Lilac, and after that I'm going to use Spiced Marmalade, and then finally I'm going to use Mustard Seed, and then I'll repeat that whole thing again. Now you will see and notice that this is pretty darn ugly. There's lots of separation between the colors. I'm going to work on making the lines blur just a little bit more, but really in the end it doesn't really matter. So this is one time where you can just lay down the colors and not really worry too much about the blending, because that's not going to matter. You're not going to see it. So I'm going to clean up my work surface after doing that before I go on to the next step. I thought it would be nice to have a little bit more unevenness in the color, if you can believe it or not. So I sprayed this with a little bit of water. And then because I don't have time to let it dry for a period, I'm going to just use my heat tool and I'm going to dry the heck out of this. And of course I did not film all of my drying, but I dried it for quite a while, maybe about 3 minutes would be my guess. And the reason being that if it's wet, you're going to have embossing powder that we're going to use shortly here sticking where you don't want it. So after drying it with my heat tool, I did use my anti-static tool, as you saw there, and got a good coating of anti-static on it. That will also help a lot if you have a little bit of dampness left in your card panel. At this point, I had laid out the stamp I'm going to use, which is this diagonal butterfly image, and I'm going to use my Stampendable's paddle. This is from LDRS, and I find a paddle is especially useful in a stamp press that has a big area to cover like this one. It just helps you get a better and more even pressure. And I guess my pad was a little bit dry because I did find I had to apply this several times. Again, I did not video or show on this video how many times I did it. I probably did it about 4 though, to be honest with you. And then I thought I had gotten it pretty well, so at this point I'd take out my coffee filter and I'm going to use Hero Fine Detail Embossing Powder in clear. This is another thing that's very important with this technique. You do not want to use any kind of colored embossing powder. You want to use clear only, because when we're done, that color on the background is only going to show where we have heat embossed. The rest is going to be a black or dark background. So I put away my clear embossing powder, and we're going to go ahead and heat this up. And it melts pretty quickly, and you can really see those images come out now. And as I did this, I did realize that I had missed a few of the areas in some of these butterflies. It wasn't bad, but it could have been a little bit better. So for that, after I made sure that I had actually, heat embossed what was there, I brought out my Ranger Heat Emboss It pen. This is clear. You can also get this in black, but I just added some embossing liquid via this pen to various areas in the butterflies that I thought needed a little bit more coverage. And so once I did that, I applied some more powder, and that will make it much better than it was before. Basically, this pen can save you if you're trying to do large images. I've even used it sometimes on sentiments where just a little bit got skipped somehow. It's a fine enough pen that generally you can use it to fix a heat embossing problem. Unless it's really, really super fine and thin, the pen will not work for that. It's just got too thick of a nib on the marker. So anyway, back to heat embossing it, and you can see now that there is some very shiny images there. You might notice some blue splotching up there. I had tried a dark blue ink thinking that that might be better than the black, but it just was not covering. So I did then switch to the black Onyx. Like I said in the beginning, this is the first time I've done this technique. So I was kind of learning as I was going to some degree. I did watch a few videos showing how this was done, but after that I'm just really kind of going by the seat of my pants and hoping that this turns out. And really for a first attempt, it was, you know, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out actually. But anyway, as you can see, it looks pretty messy right now. Nothing very pretty at all actually. It looks pretty dark and pretty nothing special. But the magic here is once I've got it coated with enough black ink, I'm going to come back with a paper towel. And then you're going to see the magic of the Joseph's coat technique. So I'm going to keep applying this black ink because I want it to have pretty good coverage. And even still, I did get a little bit of peeking through of the colors underneath. It's really just barely a hint, but I do think it adds a little bit more depth. Now we're going to see the magic. I'm going to take my paper towel and wipe. Look at that. It's amazing, really. You really can see now this bright background that was created underneath the embossing of those butterflies. And here too you can see the peek through of the color underneath. Now I didn't mind that. I do wish that one butterfly would have had a better coverage, but I missed it. And we're going to end up putting enough things on this card is really not going to stand out in the end. At this point I'm going to trim down the panel to 4 by 5 1/4 inches so it will fit on a white A2 card base. Next I brought in my spray box, put in my panel, and I'm spraying with Dylusions spray. This is called Pure Sunshine, and it is a very bright golden yellow. After misting it, I really decided I wanted a bit more emphasis of that gold dot, so I'm splattering it now with the applicator instead of spraying it, and I do like that look a bit better. So this is how it looked, and I went ahead and started to dry it. I did splotch it a little bit with my hands as I was working with it, so I am going to kind of figure that out as I go here. Now one of those butterflies had a big blotch of the spray on it, and I thought it would be good to take it off. And for the most part on the bigger one it worked, but on that little one it just sort of smeared all over the place and kind of diffused that butterfly, which is unfortunate. But I am determined. Again, this is the first time I've done this card and there were mistakes, but I'm going to make up for them, and hopefully you find some benefit in hearing and seeing how I've sort of camouflaged that. So I'm going to place this now on the A2 white card base. And it is kind of damp because of all the spraying and all the inking, so I'm going to use this piece of cardstock to press down on it so I don't smear anything anymore. That's the goal anyway. And now I'm going to add my sentiment, which I had heat embossed with black and then fussy cut out off camera. This says, "You're on my mind." And then I'm going to add some semi-transparent sequins. They are white, but they are still somewhat see-through. So this is what I decided to use to kind of cover up or diffuse some of my errors here, like the smearing where I'm applying the sequins now. The surface of this is so heavily coated that even my double-sided tape wouldn't stick properly, so I did have to add some wet glue. And then you'll see I proceeded to add a whole bunch of dots where I'm going to put these sequins. Now that kind of smeary looking butterfly, I'm going to also apply one on top of that to help kind of diffuse the eye from that mistake as well. You're not going to see it here. I did all of these sequins and then decided to add that at the end, but that is what I did. So here's a close-up of the finished card after the glue dried underneath the sequins, and you can see that a lot of the mistakes do kind of disappear in that background. So I'm pretty happy with that. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me. Be sure to go to the video description where you're going to have the hop links and you can go from one person to the other. I think you'll really enjoy seeing the Joseph's coat and the black magic techniques from the team. Have a great day. See you soon. Bye.